Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world. And welcome to this episode of Hit Talks Live. Yes, we are coming live to you again. And we're coming live to you actually because it's the first of the month. It's actually first of the month. It's actually the 30th of the month. But within the Mayan calendar, we actually go through the 13-day cycle, and we are on the first of the 13-day cycle, which is all about new opportunities. It's all about new life. And, if you feel into what you want to be able to create, what you want to bring into your life, then this is a fantastic day to do it. So my name is Vicky Thomas, and I am your founder and host of Hit Talks Live. Hit Talks, what is it all about? If you're new to the channel, if you're new to us, please subscribe, and we will tell you a little bit about Hit Talks. Hit Talks is the platform all around the power of 8. So this is where we bring together 8 speakers from all over the world, speaking on 8 different perspectives on hope, inspiration, and transformation. There is no selling, there is no positioning. They are just sharing stories from their heart to inspire you, to give you some messages of hope, some messages of inspiration, and to give you some transformational messages to help you with wherever you are at. And it is just truly, truly magical. It is something that I absolutely love. I love the amazing speakers that come on board because they have something to share from here. So without further ado, as we go through the 8 speakers, I would like to introduce you to our first speaker of tonight's episode. And this first speaker of tonight's episode is the amazing J.W. Wilson. And he is just an absolute, let's say, just an amazing soul. I've known JW for quite a while now, since we met with Robert Kiyosaki, and I introduced myself as a galactic unicorn. But beyond that, he's a great supporter of both myself and of Hit Talks, and he does so many things, changing the world with his Institute of Cracking the Learning Code. And it's all about transforming how we can actually learn, how our brain works, how it actually functions. And I do have to say, his book has just been launched, and Amazon delivered it to me today. And look how thick it is. I think I'm going to be reading for the next 20 years. But honestly, this guy is an absolute genius, wanting to change the world, has such an amazing, amazing heart. And I love listening to him every single time he comes on Hit Talks. So JW, my friend, welcome back to Hit Talks. And I now give you your 8 minutes.
Here, can you hear me okay? I was having a problem with the connection. Can you hear me okay? Oh my, can you hear me?
No, I can hear you perfectly.
Can you hear me? What's the heck?
Yes. Just carry on. We can hear you.
Okay?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Sorry. Okay.
Well, we did hear him perfect, and now he's left us. So obviously, cracking the learning code, it's just like, oh my gosh, the brain waves have gone. And let me just tell you a little bit about what JW is doing. He is literally, with his cracking the learning code, and as it says here, it is actually the science of transforming how the world learns, motivates, and changes behaviors. And he is educating over 1 billion homeschool parents to actually work with their children so they can actually understand and take in all of this knowledge that they have to take in, and doing it by actually using the right parts of their brain. And he'll tell us a story about cheese, I'm sure. But anyway, JW, I've just bigged you up a little bit more here, my friends. I'm going to jump off and let you have your 8 minutes.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm having some problems with the connection, so I definitely apologize. So what I was saying before, as long as everybody can hear me okay, is we've really got a problem in the world. And that is the systems that we're using to create learning and behavior change aren't working as effectively as we thought they were. what we've done is we make people go to school, we memorize things, we take tests, we get our grades, we get our diploma, and then we go out into life. But then what happens to us? Well, what happens to us is not what we want. Almost 66% of us are not very happy in life. Another statistic is almost 70% of us are living paycheck to paycheck. Why is that? What happened in our educational system that didn't allow us to touch what's inside of us so we could be great in the world? All of us listening to this right now, in their hearts and souls, feel like they have something to give to the world. Yet a lot of the systems and strategies that we're using to get that information out to the world aren't supporting us the way they should. And so where does it start? Well, it starts in our educational system. What happens is we think trying to memorize something or take a test or get a diploma is the answer. But the statistics are showing us that isn't really true if we look at it. So we have an educational system that's not based on neurobiology. And what we found is that if you're going through life and not accessing the neurological structures that give you meaning in your life, you're not, literally your brain starts to shut down. That's why those tens of thousands of things you memorized in college and high school and grade school, all those things you memorized, can you remember them now? For most of us, no, maybe 2-3%. Well, what happened to the other 98%? Well, what happened was the information wasn't meaningful to us. So we have structures in our brain called our meaning network that literally activate those structures and allow us to engage our biology in a way that it literally goes out and grabs the information and puts it into our neurological structures. And so one of the problems that we've had is we've got these systems that aren't accessing our neurological structures. Therefore, we spend a lot of our time, it's like spinning your wheels on ice. You're trying to go, you're working really hard, the rev of your engine is going, but you're not going anywhere in reality. And so what we found is that we need to turn on our neurological systems so that it accesses a group of structures that each one of us in the world is born with that nobody else in the world has. There's 7.5 billion of us in the face of the earth, and not one of us have any two neurons hooked up in the same way. When you're born with an overabundance of neurons. I'm being very metaphorical here, but you're born with an overabundance of neurons in one part of your brain that nobody else on the face of the earth has. That makes you a genius. It's something that nobody else is. And what happens is up until you're about 7 years old, you're running around, you're having a good time, you're running through the world, and your brain is literally selecting in so much information to allow you to succeed in the world successfully based on the structures that you have, your unique structures. This is why up until you enter first grade, you basically are able to, you're able to naturally access those structures. You can learn anywhere from 30 to 100,000 words before you're 7 without ever memorizing anything, without ever taking a test. Why is that? It's because when you go into the world with these structures set up and they're kind of naked, ready to engage with the universe, and they're unique to you, your brain starts identifying things that are meaningful to you and selects in the information really quickly. And you learn the words that you need, the 30 to 100,000 words, to help you get more of what's meaningful to you. Like if sports is meaningful to you, or words are meaningful, or soldiers or dolls, you're using the words to get more of what's meaningful to you. So up until you're 7 years old, that's great. You're doing that independently. You're doing that without direction. It's just happening naturally. You're selecting those words without memorizing or without taking tests. Now we drop you into the educational system. We sit you in a chair and we say, no more moving. All you do is do what we tell you to do. We want you to memorize. We want you to take tests. And at the end, everything's going to be okay in your life. But the truth is, it's not. Mainly because these systems weren't based on neurobiology. So the main thing that each one of us can do for ourselves, for our children, our friends, and those in our organizations is what we need to be able to do is access what is meaningful to us at a deep level. What gives us joy? What gives us happiness? And one of the things that we found, this is why it's so great to be on a spiritual show like this, is that when we start to do things like meditation, mindfulness, being the observer, kind of what Hit talks about all the time, shifting to these more spiritual, deep roots of our lives. Literally, what happens is it starts to change our neurological structures. So we're able to more effectively access those structures that we were born with that are a gift. This is why meditation is so vital. When we meditate, our brain drops into what's called alpha, theta, and delta waveforms. And what happens is when we drop into those neurological waveforms, what happens is this acetylcholine, this neurotransmitter, comes up. And what it does is, I always go somewhere with my cheese. What it does is your old thoughts, behaviors, and actions, the things that aren't serving you, are literally made out of fats and proteins like cheddar cheese, thick, gooey stuff. When we go into these more observer states, these more meditative states, it literally starts to melt the cheese that is not serving us. The behaviors, the actions around weight, around alcohol, around picking the wrong partners, it literally starts to melt that cheese. And what happens is, the other thing that happens is, the receptor sites that you were born with that gave you a gift, during your school system, during your years in school, they literally recede into the cell wall. It doesn't mean they've gone away. It just means they've receded into the cell wall. So if you can go into these slower waveforms, these meditation states of alpha, theta, and the observer states, literally what happens is these meaning structures start to come back out as the old cheese not serving you starts to melt away. So really what we try to do, like Sisyphus, is do more and more and more, push the rock up the hill, work harder, go harder. But what really happens is that we end up just cementing this cheese because we're under stress all the time. Stress helps cement the cheese. That's why we do so much stupid stuff when we're under stress. So what we really want to do is practice going into these more relaxed, meditative states in which we can connect to what's deeply meaningful to us, which are dictated by our unique structures. And so, and if somebody would like text me or something, because my timer just went off, and let me know how much time, I'd appreciate. So what we found is that if you can use meditative states, then really your whole life will become much more joyful and much more engaging. What we do is, because it's hard, if we haven't meditated before, it's hard to start meditating. We suggest that you only do 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. You do a guided meditation. Insight Timer has something like this, Headspace. Go on one that is only 5 minutes at the most, or 10 minutes if you feel comfortable. And what you do is you drop into these more meditative states with a guided meditation. You don't try to change anything. You just let it happen. And what happens is your brain literally will naturally start to reorganize itself so that it goes back to that base that you were born with, that's your gift. And these receptor sites start to pop out. So meditation isn't about just relaxing or being spiritual or any of those kind of things. There's biological reasons that the meditation itself, being the observer of your thoughts and actions rather than being your thoughts and actions, literally change your brain structures so that more joy, neurochemicals of joy, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, they start to be released. So literally your whole life starts to change. So what I would recommend heavily that everybody's here is to jump on and try some of these meditative states. The other thing that's really cool that you can do is you can start to use a kind of your calendar on your phone or your alarm and have it ring 3 times a day. What happens when you do that? Well, what happens is, it's pretty fascinating. What happens is, when you are in your thoughts, your actions, and the behaviors, the research shows we can have up to 30 to 60,000 thoughts a day that we're not even aware of. And 90 to 80% of those are negative, because negative thoughts, evolutionary biological wise, are better keeping you alive than the positive thoughts. Running, knowing that you better be careful, there might be a woolly mammoth down by the pond, it can keep you alive longer than remembering where the tree was, where the fruit was growing. So these negative thoughts stick in our brains. It's natural to keep us alive. But what happens to us now when we don't need to be obsessing on these thoughts over and over again 30,000 times a day is when we're aware that we're having those thoughts, it literally shifts the blood flow from the lower part of the brain where these obsessive thoughts are activating to the upper part of your brain. And you can go to our book and to our online program on cracking the learning code, or the learningcode.com, THElearningcode.com, and learn more about this. And I want to thank you so very much, and Vicki so very much, and this whole team, for giving me the opportunity to be here, share this information on Hitchcock. And thank you so very much. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome, JW, and you're only allowed to actually throw your website in there because JW is a partner and affiliate and vice versa of Hit Talks and Cracking the Learning Code. There's so many things that is happening in the world, and when we actually surround ourselves with the right people, then honestly, magic can happen. Honestly, being part of Hit Talks, the connections and the opportunities that you can get are just absolutely unbelievable. And I love JD. Yeah, I think JW actually walks around with that cheese in his pocket. So I hope it's different cheese every single time. But you know, when you think about and you listen to the way that the brain works, and we think about, you know, our subconscious and our conscious as he's talking about, you know, some of the speakers even come in to speak on Hit Talks. It's such a fearful thing for them. And, you know, I've had people in the past that are literally shaking backstage. And then after they're elevated. And again, it's because of programming. And that's where the fear comes in. And I just love listening to JW, love understanding the brain, the consciousness, and how important meditation is. And I would actually say that I would actually, looking at all the speakers, I would know that they all are in their meditation practice. And you as the viewers, send us some messages and let us know what your morning practices are, or let us know if you meditate, because as I say, it truly, truly does make a difference. So when we talk about meditation, we are going to invite you to the next speaker, which is my soul brother, Korey. And yes, I know for a fact that he meditates. And I know for a fact that he actually works in the spiritual realm with the quantum healing. He's just written his own book, Becoming the Champion, as well. And he does not give himself enough credit about how amazing he is, and how he's literally transformed his life with spiritual healing, with actually going inside, with doing the work, and with helping others. Because when you see him, when you feel him, and you feel his energy, and when you actually listen to him, you will actually understand that this man is very, very special. So Korey, my friends, I now give you your 8 minutes.
Hello, thank you very much. Good to be here as always. I love seeing the collaboration of the people and being a part of this, just to talk about what comes up. And I love how we don't actually have a plan for it. We can take notes. I sit down, I get to hear everybody, and then talk about what's coming up with the new concepts or what gets brought up. And I love what JW was talking about with conditioning, and how we actually don't take enough time to figure out why we do what we do. We always have the problem where we hear ourselves talk about, I can't figure this out, or I relapse, and taking the times of learning our patterns. It is very important to not just meditate, but to breathe properly. I see it on a daily basis when people are exhausted or overwhelmed or just trying to get through the day. I see them not breathe. It's the tension of not breathing and allowing everything to flow. Like JW was saying, the dopamine, the fluids, the calming, that's so important when you sit and meditate and just breathe. And a lot of people do have a taboo towards the words because of what they have been conditioned to or taught. And they see like, oh, I can't do that, or why would I do that? And there's these patterns that we have to unlearn. And that's why I always say we have to stop, check into our reality, really look at where you are right now, because we forget the fact that we are here right now breathing. We are capable, we are able, We can truly do whatever as long as you put the time in to stop, breathe, finish your thoughts, and know that that's what you want. I have spent a lot of time out sitting thinking, okay, what about this? What about that? And I never actually looked at what was right in front of me. I was so programmed to always look ahead, always try to see past where I was just at, except for the new opportunities, which I love to take this opportunity to always talk about that, like the new beginnings, no matter what your choice is, what you're able to do. You can program and you can unlearn. So when you unlearn something that you know is a bad programming, you can then relearn it. So when you breathe, you meditate, go for a walk. I know some people who actually can do it just listening to music. Find your rhythm, find your path, and be able to sit and unlearn what you know is not serving you. Address it, breathe through it, see in the world how the new concepts are. What are you able to do? What are you able to learn? Starting with a fresh concept, turning it into an opportunity, then you can have whatever it is that you truly want, as long as it makes sense in your world and it's in your capability. But you know that, we all know that. And the schooling system and how our nutrition, our daily diets, even of just stress, not just food, can drag us down to where we stop breathing, stop meditating, stop thinking of what we are doing, forgetting to check into our reality of where we are and where we want to be and what we're capable of being able to do. So often I always go back to the, what's the phrase? It's, oh, well, it's always been this way. My family is like this. It's generational. I'm just like them. It's always putting yourself in someone else's shoes in that perception. Your perspective on that is not the same as someone else's. We just can't possibly learn and feel what they went through in that process. So breathing, meditating, knowing how you feel is only the most important thing. That's all. And teaching ourselves and other people to be able to do that, to unlearn what does not serve us, which is nonsense. A lot of time wasted on anger and jealousy, envy, like the normal feelings that we get, and then feeling sad about that, except for not dealing with the real problem, our patterns, our habits, our conditioning, what we always fall back on, that we're not capable, we're not able. And we need to start accepting that we have to take our own responsibility to sit down, breathe, really get clarity on what you want and where you are, and be able to move forward, because everyone has access to the information. Everyone is capable, but you have to make that time for it. If you're tired or you're not able to, just keep trying. And that's what we really worked at learning this. And when we talk to people about the spiritual side of it, they have a problem with understanding it's not that it's outside consciousness, just comprehending what we are trying to do so our body relaxes, can receive the information, can process it, and then be truly inspired to do that, accomplish it, take the opportunity. And the education system definitely has a part in that, of not giving us the right tools. Instead, we have to find it on our own, but in our own pace, at our own time. That's always where we all need to always be. Stop checking to your reality. Think about it. Breathe. Learn your patterns. Think of your experiences not as failures. Never as a failure. It's always as a lesson learned, because you are still able to breathe. You're still able to step forward. You're still so capable of everything that you're able to do. No programmings, no backwards talk about how I was conditioned. It's all about the forward motion of your concept. I found a way that if you meditate on how to see the new opportunity in every situation, I never say failure or a win. It's just in every situation. There's an opportunity to learn, to gain knowledge, and to help someone else, always. Even if it's just telling them about your experience so then they can take that moving forward. Our communication and our experiences, our conditionings and perceptions that we went through, but all that is able to be unlearned, reprogrammed, and you are able to know that you can breathe through anything, because being alive, you just keep moving forward. And I love being able to see that there's so many of us that want to share that information and get that out there and talk about this, to be able to know that it's not just that we're alone in it or we have a small group. It's all of our conditionings can help each other in some other way as long as we share that experience. That's why I'm also so thankful to be on this show with all these amazing people and being able to take the time to be able to do that. The ability to start over and have new beginnings, just like you chose this date. I was so excited when I heard about the date and just the numbers, because you know how I am with numbers and everything. It was a great experience this morning. I sat and meditated for quite a while, breathing, doing my flow, and knowing that sitting here, I would just know that I have a new beginning with new concepts to talk to new people and enjoy the experience of listening to them and what their knowledge is, what they have to share. We all have something to gain from each other. And I think my time is almost up. So I wanted to thank you for having me. Thank you for creating this space. And I look forward to hearing from everyone else going forward. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, thank you, thank you, Korey. Honestly, since the first time that you came on Hit Talks, I can see such a difference in you and just the inspiration that you're putting out there into the world. And if we think about it, what I love about Hit Talks is that the flow and the energy, because for you watching the live or watching the replay, maybe you do know, maybe you don't know, especially if you're new, but there is nothing planned as far as what the speakers are talking about. They don't know what anyone else is speaking about. It's not prepared, it's from the heart, and we just go with the flow. And so, it kind of has this magical string, this magical thread that is energetically connected to every single speaker that are backstage. I can see all of their lovely faces smiling and nodding, and I just say, as you can see, the magical thread going through it all. And I'm so with you very much with what JW said as well, Korey, about the educational system. How much I believe that we, as light workers, as spiritual people, as business people, as people that just really want to make a difference, have a kind of, I'm going to say the word hashtag duty, to actually shift our habits, our behaviors, and our beliefs. So then when we do it, believe me, it is a ripple effect to the children and the people around us. And so it's something very close to my heart. And I'm sure many of you, as I can see you nodding backstage, you're agreeing with me as well. But I can't see you watching the live or watching the replay nodding. So yeah, just nod. So we're going to go on to some beauty now after having two lovely men, but the beauty now comes on to Hit Talks. And we have the lovely Anna Levin from California. Now, her husband, Danny, was on last episode. It's not weeks, every 13 days. Now, I really can't read that bio from where I am, but what I do know is that her motto is trust in the power of the heart. I think that's what it is. Trust in the power of the heart. And she has got masters in psychology, and she's working with amazing people, again, shifting their paradigm, shifting their blockages, and literally helping them live into their true being, helping them live into their heart and and I'm absolutely so glad for you to have your first episode on Hit Talks, Anna. And I now give you your 8 minutes, my love.
There I am. Hi, Vicky. Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. Lots of love to JW. We love you. And Korey, amazing. I am amazed, but not amazed, I can't believe it, because I can believe it, in the synchronicities and serendipity of everybody here. So in my past life, I was a high school teacher and actually taught children of all ages. And my life began again about 8 years ago, when I dared to ask the universe, God, source, I wonder what living is like. I wonder, what it feels like to truly be alive. And when I asked that question, I was doing this coaching program, the first one that I did. And like a month later, that's when in meditation prayer, I received the message, you can go with your head, or you can trust in the power of your heart. And it was literally like a fork, right? Like in the road. And I said, being a lover and being a feeler my whole life, I said, well, this is an easy choice. But little did I know the depth and the journey that saying yes to trusting in the power of my heart would lead me on. It has been everything between challenging to beautiful to amazing to meaningful to transformational and everything in between. I don't have even words to describe, because I had to look inside, and what I do now with others, I had to do and I continue to do on myself. And that is aligning my energy. And like what Korey was saying, I think we have similar work, and JW as well. But um, really owning, and what Vicky was saying, that's why I was one of the ones nodding behind stage, really owning and having the feeling the responsibility in encompassing, like embracing the responsibility of my journey. You know, I often say this journey has my name on it. It's mine, all of it, the good, the bad, the in between, the lessons, the ugly, the beautiful, the passionate, all of it. So how do I invite myself to love all of it and grow from it? And because I feel like that's what I'm here to do. And if I feel this, I'm pretty sure many feel the same. We're here to grow. And when I look back into my life, I see many times my life has been a dialogue between love and myself, and how love is trying to talk to me all the time through experiences and trying to teach me and nudging me, you know, just to go a little bit deeper. And this message of trusting in the power of your heart, trust alone, has been at the epicenter of what has been challenging for me. And it continues to be, even though, of course, I have healed so much within myself. And as I strengthen my connection to the divine, everything, all the anxieties and the distrust, they start to fall away a little bit more. And it's the peace, the internal peace, can strengthen within me. But trust alone has been one of the main focus of the past 8 years for me, because I had an idea of what I wanted to attract in my life, and then the divine has a different idea. And this tug of war that I've had, I'm learning to surrender and trust. And I'm really checking myself and leaving my arrogance, you know, in a drawer, and accepting the fact that I may not understand certain things, but I can trust. And I'm specifically speaking about this beautiful divine gift that was given to me when I accepted the message of trust in the power of your heart, and I took that to my heart, in my whole being, and my life completely changed. That's when I met my husband, Danny, who is he's my heart, he's my sacred union. And I am doing this in great part because of him, and because of his love and belief in me, and his guidance, his gentle guidance, because you would think like he was a monk before he taught me how to meditate. He didn't do any of that. He just held the space. And that has meant the world to me. And again, that a big part of that was trusting in what I was feeling, what the divine was presenting to me in my life. And so as I continued to go deeper into this message of trusting in the power of my heart, I realized how little I understand. I realized how little I know. And that has been so hard for me. If you only knew the tug of war between my head and my heart, it's amazing to me. I'm amazed at myself, and I'm amazed at the grace that the divine has. And so it's beautiful also. I love the fact that it has been so challenging for me, because it allows me to have so much compassion, right, and understanding for other people in the work that I do. And been working with some people that have gone through horrific things. I'm in awe of what happens when I surrender to the divine love that flows through me, that does not need my permission, and it just holds the person. And it's in that holding the person that the person heals. And I get emotional because how many times have I, and I can only speak for myself, but how many times have I doubted? It is awesome to see what happens when I trust. And that's all. I feel like that's the best thing we can all do. When we, each one of us, say yes to what wants to come through, we inspire each other, we heal each other, we encourage each other to be better. That's all we need to do. But our minds, or my mind, thought that I need to do more and more and more, and this, and be this and be that, and get more degrees. Go, Anna, go, 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 go. Because I didn't value that which I don't understand with my head. And now I get a kick out of it in a good way, and I want to share this with others, not in I want to convince you of anything, but in a, let me help you feel this that I'm talking about. And that's my timer. Oh, I love you all. Thank you so much for having me here. I am sending you so much love, and I invite you, like I invite myself every day, to trust in the power of your heart. Thank you.
Thank you, my love. Yes, trust in the power of your heart. Everybody, I'd just like you to take a couple of minutes and just think for a moment about the times that you haven't trusted. And then think for a moment the times that you have actually trusted and magical things have happened. Because I'm sure every single one of you can actually recall, if you give yourself the space and the time to actually think about the opportunities that have come when you've actually trusted, when you've actually opened your heart, when you've actually given without the want of receiving, of actually there to serve, to trust that the universe is going to support you when you give your heart and your soul to a mission or a purpose that you are on your journey to achieve. So, Anna, thank you so much for your lovely message. As I say, it just all kind of energetically, magically flows. And as I said, we're on number 1 Achabal as far as the Mayan calendar is concerned, and it's all about new opportunities, and it's all about new fresh starts, and it's a very feminine divine energy. So anybody out there, whatever you're going through, whether or not it's something that you don't trust, something that you're waiting for, use today, using this as I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to trust that whatever I'm looking for is going to happen. And let's use the energy of today as well to really make a shift in wherever you are. And when we start talking about shift, I'm now going to invite a lovely, lovely lady who's new to Hit Talks onto our stage, Sherry. And she's all the way from Canada, because Hit Talks is global. We do go all over the world. And when I met Sherry, she was just beaming and smiling and asking amazing questions about Hit Talks. Absolutely loved it. And I loved the way that she says that when she first got on stage, she was just, she lost all her words. And it was just like, oh my gosh, and how many times have you been there, either on stage, in front of people, on the telephone? But it's what you actually do when you actually get presented with that situation. But I know that there is more inside of Sherry's heart and soul than her bio actually says. And this is what is exciting, that you're going to actually hear a little bit more about Sherry Knight. So Sherry, I now give you your 8 minutes, my love.
Really appreciate that. So glad to be here today and to be able to just share some information with people, because, we all start somewhere. And yes, my very first time on a stage, was a disaster. However, I did recover. I finally got through it and made sure that things happened. But here's the thing. Being unstoppable means that we stop what we're doing. We think about it, but usually it's not just us. It's usually somebody behind us pushing things and giving us that inspiration that says, yeah, you can do it too. Because you see, way back in school, right, and we had JW talk about the education system. Yeah, I was there. And Anna talked about it too. And the reality is that we talk about those things. We've all had experiences. When I was little, I couldn't read. My parents fortunately went out and got me a tutor so that I could learn to read. And I'm pretty good at it now. Then I got to high school, and math was a real struggle for me, a very big struggle, to the point where when I got to high school, you know what it's like. You go and you write the exams at the university, and they decide whether or not you're good enough for the university. Well, I went and I wrote the exams. And one day the guidance counselor called me into his office. And so in I go, sit in the chair. He puts his hands and he clasps them in front of him. And he says to me, Sherry, they really say that you should go and do something else, that you're just not university material. Well, imagine this. The tears are right there. They are almost coming out, but I hold them back and we have a conversation. And during that conversation, one of the things that Dave Halstead said to me was, they said the same thing to me. And this young kid is sitting there and thinking, well, if they said the same thing to you, and you're here as a teacher teaching me math, which is really hard for me, then maybe I can do this too. So I took that home that night and I thought a lot about it. And the next day I went forward and forward and forward. I listened to what he said. He said, apply to every university you can think of. Because you see, I wanted to be a school teacher. I didn't want other children, other kids experiencing what I had experienced, that tough thing that I cannot do. And so I applied. And guess where the school was that said, yeah, we'll take you. Well, it happened to be the very school that said, you're not bright enough to come to our school. But the interesting thing about that was I was good enough to go into their teachers program, just not good enough for the degree. Wow. Imagine that. I am sitting here teaching your children, but they said I wasn't good enough. Scary, right? But fast forward several years, and I loved teaching. I got through it. I got through a degree. Took me 8 years, summer school, night school, correspondence school. And every time I took a course and failed it, because that was the very first one towards my BA, I failed it. I was in tears. They must be right. I'm not smart enough to go to university. I'm smart enough to be a teacher. I'm just not smart enough to go to university. I don't know if you've had those experiences in your life. I got there. Summer school, night school, correspondence school. But I failed that first one and felt that I was finished. And I had a very wise man in my life at that time who said to me, take the next one. If you fail it, then we should think about it. And I took that next one and I passed it. Not by a lot, but I passed it. And so think about 1 foot in front of the other. Always just 1 foot in front of the other. Having been in business for a number of years, there's the ups, the downs, the inside outs, the everything. And I've had every one of those experiences. The good days, the bad days, the am I going to be able to make payroll days? And so when we look at those things, we look at them from our inside. And that little voice in the back of the head that always says, you're not good enough for this. Put it aside. Just as JW said, all those negative thoughts, they're the first ones we get. Understand that they're the first ones we get. And understand that you can say, whoa, I'm going to change that thought. I am good enough. I am able to make a difference in other people's lives because I make a difference in my own life. If you're a parent, if you're a grandparent, if you're a student, if you're a business owner, or you're just that other individual that does whatever, understand that you are your best friend. And you're also your worst enemy, because we're the ones that pay attention to ourselves and we get in our own way. So be conscious, be cautious. Listen to the words that you say to yourself. Listen to the things that make a difference for you, because we're all different. None of us are the same. And that's the thing that makes us truly, truly unique. And every time something pushes you down, remember this: there's something there to learn. There's something there to make you better the next time. Better today, better tomorrow, better next week. All those things are there because that's where we learn. You know, when your life is perfect, it's amazing. We don't learn much. It's when we have to get creative, when we have to think outside the box. It's when we have to think, wow, what can I get from this that is going to make me the better person that I can be in order to help those around me? And it doesn't matter. Is it those around me in my family? Is it my friendships? Is it my community? Is it my business? Is it the people that I communicate with all the time? I don't know, but you do. You know what's in it for you. And you're the one that can make that tremendous, tremendous difference. You're the one that can look after you so that you can look after others. And that's what life is about, right? How do we improve us so that we can help others improve themselves? Be unstoppable. Keep going. Don't stop just because somebody put a block in front of you. There is no need to ever stop. Just keep going. Think about what it is that you want out of life, and then go and help somebody else get what they want out of life. And you'd be amazed at what comes back to you. Great being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope that this message helps you make sure that you keep being unstoppable.
Thank you, Sherry. Yes, unstoppable. Let's take a pen and paper out. Let's think. What do you want to be able to do? Help others. You know, it's all the same thread. And do you know what came through into my, into my subconscious as you were talking then, was the Whitney Houston song, The Greatest Love of All. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And again, the thread, let's kind of give ourselves some love. Every single one of us here backstage, every single one of us watching the live and the replay, give ourselves some love. We are human beings on this earth. We enjoy it. You know, we are literally here to make a difference. And if we can make a difference in our life, then we can make a difference in others. So absolutely loved your story, Sherry. And, it's just mind-blowing, isn't it, the way the educational system is that, you're not good enough to take a good degree, but you're good enough to teach our children. It reminds me when I sent my children to a school here where I live, and the teachers didn't even have degrees. They weren't, they were, I'm not going to say non-educated because that's wrong, and their teachers, that's not correct. And every time I mention it, I was sent out of the room kind of thing. And I was just like, anyway, I'm not going to get into the education system, but you know where I'm coming from. But again, let's step into this self-love. And when we talk about self-love and we talk about having a life which is fun, enjoying what we do, because if you enjoy what you do, whether, whatever that is in your walk of life, you literally shine and sparkle the energy of fun and magnetism. And this is the next gentleman that's coming on, because when I first met Jim, the magnetism, he was just like so bubbly. He got his guitar out and started playing us a song, and and Jim's new onto Hit Talks. I'm so glad he's here. And if you read his bio, he has done some amazing things. He's written 21 books. So the most recent book, I believe, is The Power Minute, and there's one that he's currently going to be publishing as well, and which is something I think it's curiosity or intelligent curiosity, something like that. He'll be able to explain that to you. But as I say, keeping moving forward with the inspiration of lifting other people up. Are you getting the theme here on this episode? So, Jim, I'm glad that you're here, my friend, and I now give you your 8 minutes.
Hope, inspiration, and transformation. It's important to understand what each word means in this context. For example, hope has two sides. There's hope for, and there's hope against. Oh, I hope we don't get stuck in traffic. Gee, I hope it doesn't rain. That's all negative. That's worry, basically. And worry is the mental rehearsal of failure. In other words, it's mentally experiencing what you don't want. And anything you visualize and put into your emotions, you increase the likelihood of. So get out of the business of hoping against things, get into the business of hoping for. And in the Bible, it says hope, faith, and love, these three. And it talks, and the most important of these is love. But when it says hope, it's this kind of hope. You're wandering through a dark area and you see a light and you realize there's a way out. Hey, there's hope. I found a way out. That's the kind of hope we're talking about. So if you look up hope in this context, it means positive expectation. Positive expectation. Years ago, I ran across a motto for my family doing some genealogy work. I came across the Cathcart family motto from like the 1500s. And Cathcart's a Scottish name. And the motto from back then was, I hope to speed. Well, in the 1500s, everybody's vehicle was 1 horsepower, literally. So speeding wasn't the kind of speeding we talk about today. And you certainly didn't get pulled over for speeding, although you might get reprimanded for riding too fast. But what it meant, if you translate it in 15th or 16th century, whatever it was, terms, is I expect to succeed. Do you? I certainly do. That doesn't mean I always will, and it certainly doesn't mean I always have. But if you expect to succeed and you visualize hope, what you want, then transformation is more likely. In 2015, my life transformed. I met a man named Dr. David Chu from Shanghai, China. He said, I want to bring you to China and take you on a series of lectures across mainland China for the next several years. And I want to make you my in-house expert on speaking and personal success. And I said, well, how many people do you represent? He said, 10, and only 10. Mark Victor Hansen, co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, Bob Proctor, others, Jay Abraham. And he said, and I had an opening and I decided it would be you or Zig Ziglar. And Zig's too old and he doesn't want to come to China anyway. Well, I went. And that ended up being the vast major client for my next 5 years. In 2019, I went to mainland China 6 separate times. I went to 23 major cities and addressed hundreds of thousands of people live through an interpreter. And in 2019, I was in country in China 71 days, in addition to the work I do in domestic US and other countries around the world. But wow. I mean, I'd go into the room and it was like Rocky Balboa coming into the final fight. They're screaming and cheering and spotlights are going. And I'm thinking, I'm not worthy of this, but don't stop. I was just eating it up. And it's inspiring to me, of course. I'm breathing all this in. But I realized I had 2 things. I had an opportunity and I had a responsibility. One day I spoke in either Kunming or Changsha, I'm not sure which, but I always had a security detail assigned to me to keep the crowd from, pulling at me and wanting selfies with me and all that. And I'm not used to having to have that problem solved. Anyway, this particular security detail had one guy that I call the Rock, and he stood like this. I mean, you couldn't move him with with a bulldozer, and just looked like he'd never had an emotion in his life, but that he'd kill you if you got within a foot of him. So I just called him the Rock, and I joked with my translator, Kitty, about that. Well, during lunch, she said to me, Jim, see that guy over there? I said, the Rock, and she laughed. She said, yeah, he was talking to me on the elevator on the way up, and I know you don't speak Mandarin. So here's what he said. He said he'd never in his life heard ideas like you were sharing today, and it moved him very deeply. I said, wow. So I waited for a quiet moment when no one was looking. And I walked over to him and I stood directly in front of him. And I looked him in the eye and I did this, which means thank you. And I don't know what I was thanking him for. I just wanted to thank him for receiving the message and being such a eager learner. And he looked at me and he started to melt. And he started to cry. And I pulled him in and held him. And he started sobbing. I mean, big sobs. And when he got control, I pushed him back to arm's length. And I did this, the salute. And he did the same to me in return. And then we went our separate ways. And no one saw. So this was our own little private secret. Later that evening, the day is over, and I've done about 6 hours of lecture through the interpreter and to probably 2,000 or 3,000 people. And at the end of the day, Kitty came over and said, Jim, what did you do to the Rock? I said, I didn't hurt him, I promise. She said, no, seriously, what did you do? And I said, well, why? She said, Jim, he would die for you. I said, oh my God, what a responsibility I have. See, some people would look at that and they would say, wow, isn't that great? Look at the impact I had. No. Isn't that important? Look at the impact I had. Because he was likely to make life-changing decisions based on some of the things I had said. If I were cavalier about what I was saying, or I were claiming some things that I wasn't sure were absolutely reliably true, I could mess up his whole life by being influential, but not being responsible. So I said to Kitty, what a huge responsibility I have. And the next day when I spoke, I said to the audience, I said, you have a responsibility to honor your country, to honor your ancestry, your heritage, your legacy, because all of that has been passed down through years of DNA into you. You have a responsibility to honor your country, your legacy, your company, and yourself. You have a gift, a unique gift. And if you don't use that gift in the ways that can make the world better, you cheat all of the rest of us out of what you could have contributed. Nurture your nature and honor your responsibilities. That message inspired them, continues to inspire me, and it gives me hope that our future is in good hands, because I all across China, hundreds of thousands of audience members, I found good people. People I could enjoy being with and trust. People whose homes I stayed in. People who shared secrets with me and I advised them when I could. And people I look forward to seeing again. Governments get in the way of all kinds of things. People are fundamentally good and certainly a source of love and worth loving. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Nurture your nature. Love it, love it, love it. And responsibility. How sometimes we feel that we are responsible for so many different people, aren't we? And having the gift of the responsibility to help people with their own gift to go out there in the world and share it. It's just absolutely fantastic. And the more I actually listen to every single one of these speakers, again, the thread coming through about supporting people, about people thinking, feeling into their heart, being themselves, nurturing themselves, having responsibility for themselves, and supporting other people to be responsible for themselves as well, to find their true gift. It really is, isn't it? It's what we're on this earth to do. Do you not think every single one of us on the live, I can see the nods backstage, but on the live and watching the replay, leave us some messages. We're here to actually help transform society, help transform people out of their habits, their limited beliefs, believing in themselves, living into their heart, living into their soul, becoming the greatest love of all, and knowing that the greatest love of all is inside of them. I love Whitney Houston. So it's really, really inspiring me. It really is inspiring me. And we're just going to continue the thread, because I said just in a couple of, I don't know, I'm saying minutes ago, we could say hours ago, I don't even know. Time is an illusion when you're in Hit Talks. And about actually having fun on the way and actually enjoying the whole process, because you do have to enjoy the process of life. You have to get out of bed and then just enjoy what you're doing. If you don't get out of bed and enjoy what you're doing, it's not your purpose. It's not really what you should be doing. And this is where Barbara comes in, because Barbara is all about that, living into your happiness, and not just maybe just one day, but all of the time, and actually shifting the vibrations and making an impact. And she is such a bubbly person anyway. We're giggling and giggling when we talk on Zoom. But, I'm glad that you actually found Hit Talks, Barbara, and you were introduced to Hit Talks. But I now give you your 8 minutes for you to share your story.
What do you want? 4 simple words. But those 4 simple words 4 years ago absolutely changed my life. And the friend of mine that asked me, it was just kind of a casual question. Well, Barb, what do you want? And I looked at her, and the words that came out of my mouth, I now know they were God inspired. And it was, I just want people to be happy. And she looked at me and she said, well, Barb, then that's your thing. That's what you're here for. That's your purpose, to help people to be happy. And I thought about it for a second and went, you know what? That is right. Because you know what? My life kind of came about a little differently than what I thought it was going to. At 21, I was young, I was in love, and I was getting married, and just thought I was going to be happy forever. Didn't happen. Because at 41, 2 children, and I was divorced. Okay, pick yourself up, Barb, and go on. You can do this. At 61, I was a widow. Didn't see it coming. And at that moment, what do you want was not even something that I could even imagine. I was hardly taking my next breath, let alone thinking about what I wanted. The thing was, though, I did know what I didn't want. And for that first year and a half after my husband passed away, because he was the love of my life, I thought we were going to grow old together. My dad died at 102. And I said, I'm going to live a long time. We're going to live, and we're going to live, and we're going to live, and we're going to have, grandbabies and all of those things. But that didn't happen. And at 61, as I said, I was a widow and had no clue of what I wanted to do. How was I going to go on, which was a thing in itself. But the saddest thing for me was when I woke up from the widow's fog, I realized in that moment that I had no idea who I was. Who was I? Who was Barbara? Outside of all of the labels that I had put on myself and society had put on myself, that I was a daughter, that I was a wife, that I was a mother. But then I was divorced, so I was a failure. But then I was a wife again. And then I was a grandmother. But then I was a widow. Where was I in all of that? And I had no idea, and I had no clue how to find out. And I am blessed that the phone rang. You know, and here in the States, I don't answer my phone because of so many telemarketers, and who wants to talk to a telemarketer? So I don't answer my phone. But that day, I know that it was, again, divine intervention. And I picked up the phone, and this little voice on the other end of the phone said, "Gee, are you ready to do something different with your life?" Yeah. What are you talking about? Well, I'm going to teach you how to do online marketing. Not something that I had ever thought of, but I said, okay, fine, you know what, I'll look into it. Well, through a series of things, because I was interested, I looked at online marketing, something totally different, but that led me to coaching. And I got a coach to help me to do this online marketing. And then I went to a seminar called the Millionaire Mind Intensive. And they talked about just learning to be the best you that you can be. Get rid of your limiting beliefs. Find out who you are. What's stopping you? All of those things. And by the second day of the event, I said, this is what I want to do. I want to be a personality science trainer and a coach, because I want to share with people, because now this is 4 years after my husband has passed away, that I now know, what I'm doing. I'm feeling a little bit more, still a work in progress. However, I was starting to get it, that everything that we've been talking about today starts right here, starts within. Who are you? And one of the things that I work with people now is that who are you within what you do? So often people in business, they equate themselves to what they do. They're a life coach, they're an entrepreneur, they're a doctor, they're a lawyer, they're an accountant. But who are you within what you do? Because the thing is that what you do can change, but who you are is eternal, and it's God-given. And He knew before the beginning of time that you were here for a purpose. The thing is, though, for myself, I thought having a purpose was this big, grandiose type of thing, that this was the larger than life. And I kept looking for my purpose. I kept looking and looking and looking and couldn't find it. And it was like, well, okay, but I love being a coach and I love helping people. But who am I outside of that? And then I realized that your purpose can be so simple. And my purpose is to serve God, to learn, and then to teach other people what I have learned. And so now I am on a mission to make happiness the norm rather than the exception, because I truly believe that each and every one of us wants and deserves to live a happy, healthy, financially free, and abundant life. It says in the Bible that Jesus came that we might have life and have it in abundance. And that's what we're here for, and to go out and to help others. So what I want to leave you with is that, and thank you so much for having me. This has been absolutely amazing. But it says in the book of Galatians to never grow weary of doing what is right, because you will reap at harvest time if you don't give up. So never, never, never give up. But it also goes on to say, therefore, and whenever God put a therefore in, that's an instruction. Therefore, whenever you have the opportunity, work for the good of all, especially for those of the family of faith. Oh, we're here to help each other. We're here to do it together, because we cannot possibly do life on our own. We need to do it with the people around us. So embrace the people around you. And right now, I just encourage you to go and hug somebody. And you might not be able to do it physically, but you can do it mentally. And you can do it. And my alarm's going off. And you can do it even on Zoom. There's my hug to each and every one of you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Barbara. And there's my hug for you and for everybody else here as well. And a big, big, massive hug. It's just like, I just wish everyone was here and we get to do this live one day where we can all be together. And thank you so much for sharing your journey. You know, everything, all the speakers and what they're talking about resonates with me. But, you know, what really resonated what you were talking about is the labeling. You know, how many labels, as you said, do we put it on ourselves? You know, every single person here watching, jot it down, think about it, go into meditation and just think, how have others labeled you? And more importantly, how have you labeled yourself? Because it's so easy. And then there's sometimes when the ego comes in, and, you know, I was smiling as well because, you know, years ago, I'd done a huge amount of work to kind of, you know, make friends with my ego and say that my ego did no longer need to be in my energetic field, because it's so easy. I do this, I do that, and I'm a multitasker, and I'm this, and I've got that degree, and I've got this degree, and, you know, and that's the thing. It's not about what we've achieved as far as accolades are concerned. It's here. It's actually our heart, it's our soul, it's what our purpose is and what we're actually doing. So it's the kind of thing like in Hit Talks, I have actually thought about getting rid of the bios, because the bios are all about, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, I've done that, I've done this. And that's what a bio is anyway, isn't it? And I just thought, it's not about the bios, it's about the people. And I can't even read the bios anyway. So, but no, I absolutely love it. And it's just, everything is aligning. And so when we talk about alignment and we talk about the connections of the speakers, not only come into Hit Talks, but connect on a cellular level as well. And this next speaker, Kat, again, introduced to Hit Talks. She's very new to Hit Talks, so welcome. But when we spoke to Kat, it was just the bubbliness. The first thing, it was like, oh my gosh, I love your hair. And, you know, when you start having a conversation and you kind of take away what people's, let's say, accolade is, you know, what they do, and you get to speak to the person from here, then you actually then start to feel the person and actually know what they're on this earth to do. So Kat, thank you so much for being at Hit Talks, and I'm looking forward to hearing your story on hope, inspiration and transformation.
Thank you very much. So I really didn't come prepared on purpose. One, because it is about, you know, sharing a little bit about ourselves and our story and all that. But I also wanted to actually live and experience hope, inspiration, and transformation from the other speakers who have all been amazing. And if you out there watching are a little bit like me, one, too much, love it. And I'm going to talk about that actually. But the second thing is that I'm an action taker. I'm a doer. I am going, I am doing things, and I can accomplish something when I have a blueprint, right? So if you're an action taker and doing all that, and a lot of what people shared today was amazing information, and I need some tangible things to do. So I kind of want to take a little bit of the theme that we talked about today, and also not forget that I didn't start my clock. So we'll deduct a minute right about here. I want to talk a little bit about the too muchness aspect of things. And so the triggers that prevent us doing some of the things that everyone talked about in terms of being in flow, having that ripple effect, you know, trusting our heart, listening to ourselves, and having that hope, that nurture to nature, and everything that every single person talked about today. What happens when we're stuck? What happens when we can't feel like we can activate those things? Really, for me, at least from my perspective and my life experiences, come down to triggers, not the ones that are our truth, but the ones that were actually given to us. And so I want to talk a little bit about what, you know, Vicki just talked about, which is alignment, but the alignment to the too muchness, actually aligning to embracing
who you are intrinsically and it being okay that somewhere, somehow you were told you were too much and not enough at the same time, and always in the wrong order. So, this was something we learned somewhere along the line. We experienced something, a story was established, right, wrong, or indifferent. It was embedded in us that we were too much in some way, somehow. And this may or may not be your story, but I know that a lot of entrepreneurs experience this, and it's a big thing that keeps us stuck and preventing us from actually receiving abundance. And so for me, it happened at a very young age. I experienced too muchness. And the problem is that it wasn't just learning it the first time. It was that it felt like it was constantly being reinforced. So I was too much in this early memory, and then grade school happened, and that's such a fun time. And then go into high school, even better. So, things get reinforced, and these truths we pick up and we start kind of cementing them, and we take them on as our identity, and we start feeling alone and by ourselves. And yes, I do a lot of lead generation business, so it does affect how you show up in the world and how you show up in your business. So one of the things that we want to make sure that we're not doing is living other people's expectations in alignment with that too muchness aspect of it. And it happened to me, first experience, firsthand, all that, where I was reinforced that I was too much. I am too much. And it's wonderful and amazing for my community and my tribe. I give people permission to be themselves, because when they see me be successful like this, their stuff isn't that bad. So basically, I really had to learn how to embrace myself, but a lot of me was not acceptable. So I got bullied, I got put down. I mean, I absolutely remember sitting in the bathroom, and I was in 5th grade and was by myself eating lunch, not sanitary, in the bathroom, and thinking, life can't be like this. It cannot continue to be this way. And that's a pretty young age to have that. And so that was the first time where I really started feeling that my light was being dimmed. So not just dimmed, but like dirt was being thrown on it, and it was just being buried. And kind of things, again, reinforced it. And so I got through, and I started basically realizing that the way to success was to live other people's expectations. And so that's what I started to do. Got my MBA, college degree, then MBA, got a big corporate paying gig and all that stuff. And what I saw happen over and over again, as in alignment with my own misery, was that every time I accomplished something, it never felt the way that it should. Meaning I was accomplishing it for someone else, but I still wasn't feeling it inside my heart. And I quickly realized that it was because I was spending all my time trying to improve my weaknesses instead of really leaning into my strengths. And I remember doing that when I was in my consulting company, when I was working there. And I was done. I was fed up with it. I can't be this amazing, wonderful, perfect person all the time. So how can I just be me? And I remember that the minute I made that decision, things started changing. I started getting promoted. I started getting the jobs, like the contracts that I wanted to get on. I got the top firm award. Like I started getting recognized. People started coming to me to get promoted. It was just this subtle shift, but I was tired of living someone else's dream. Yes, I was living someone's dream, but it just wasn't my own. So I went down and continued my entrepreneurial path. And what happened was once I left corporate and just went full into my business, when people are doing that transition or getting into that space, what happens is, I see this happen all the time, and it happened to me, is all of a sudden, all the things that I'd done and experienced just got wiped clean. It's like I wasn't allowed to carry over any of the things that I had accomplished or done for myself or for other people into this new role, unlike in corporations where you tend to, have transferable skill sets. And so the cycle kind of started over again. And so I did this high ticket program and that high ticket program, and I invested in myself. I did the things and I learned from them. And what happened is this is a punny one. I started feeling like I was being a copycat. Like I was just duplicating and being a version of that person that I just learned something from, and not really stepping into my own. And it was really the thing that was preventing me from creating success. Once I released the idea that I wasn't good enough in my own way, and I had to be like that person because they were successful. And here's the mindset thing that was keeping me stuck, was why would someone buy from me when they could just go get the original source, the person that created results for other people? Why would they come to me? when I released the things that I thought people would buy. And I really just stood in the fact of my own brilliance, my own strength, and said, you know what? This is what I do. This is my lane. I'm not looking right. I'm not looking left. I'm staying focused on my lane and my path. And I will celebrate other people's success along the way, because what that does is it raises my energetic vibration and theirs. And it allows more abundance to come to me and to those around me. And honestly, that's kind of the trick to client attraction. People talk about all the things, and yes, you want to have the right offer, and yes, you want to be able to talk about it, and yes, you want to be able to get results, and a variety of different results, and not just one-off results, right? But one of the most important things about client attraction is that they're actually attracted to you and your energy and how you're showing up in the world. So if you're not standing in that power and in that amazingness, because yes, you are amazing, you are gifted at something that a lot of other people aren't, and it's the thing that's really easy for you, hint, hint, and that you absolutely can charge a lot for and receive abundantly. So those are kind of the lessons. Don't be a copycat. Don't, charge your value. You determine your value. It's not determined by your weight. It's not determined by how much money you make, how much money, or any of those other things. It's absolutely determined by you and your ability to receive it. So identify where those areas of resistance are in your life and look at whether or not you're embracing your strengths or trying to adjust and correct your weaknesses. So that's me. Want to make sure you're always in alignment, always leaning into your too muchness, because it really gives other people permission to be themselves. I think that was my 8 minutes.
Thank you, Kat. Yes, true alignment. And I love the way that you said the word copycat. And again, I invite the viewers watching the live and the replay. Sometimes how do you feel, and the times that you felt that perhaps you're living somebody else's life, living somebody else's dream, or I use the words comparison-itis. So as Kat said, that you may feel that you're doing other people's work or you're copying other people's work, and that's just, again, that's a mindset shift. That's a thought frequency that is on a lower frequency. And when you actually increase your frequency, as Kat said, that's very much how people actually attract to you, because you're on a vibrational frequency that is higher, that people that are looking to create the difference in their life, looking to create abundance, looking to create change, then they're able to attract that higher vibrational frequency. And so, I just want everyone, again, after every single speaker here, to make some notes and think about it, how it actually tweaks, let's say tweaks, how it actually, oh God, I've been speaking all night, how it actually threads into your life, and make a change, make a difference. We're on one Akabel. This is the day that we can actually make a shift with the energy supporting us. We can make a change and say no more. And yeah, let's use this episode of you watching it to give you that energy shift to be able to do that. But before you actually decide to get all your pen and pad out, and pen and pad, that is right, pen and paper, pen and pad, and start writing all these down, I want to be able to bring on our last speaker. Now, our last speaker is an OG. Now, if you don't know what an OG is, that is an original gangster. So Sanjiv Chopra has been with Hit Talk since the beginning. So he has been on many, many, many of our episodes, sharing his love, sharing his a book about coffee, and we've just written a book on speaking and presenting with our other original gangsters. Your Sanjiv, my words aren't coming out tonight. What is happening? With Rick Nahara. So this is live. So I'm really glad, Sanjiv, that you're back with us on Hit Talks. You know the drill. You've been with us hundreds of times. Thank you for being back, and I now give you your 8 minutes.
Vicky, can you hear me clear?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Terrific. So the first thing I want to say is that the preceding speakers, all of them, have so inspired me, and I think everyone listening, by sharing their wisdom and their purpose in life. And as I was listening, 2 or 3 quotes came into my head. One of them is by Voltaire, the French philosopher, who once said, "Every man is guilty of all the good he did not do." So if you have a gift, a skill, or a talent, you must share it. And that's what all the speakers, preceding speakers, and speakers in the other hit talks have done with total abandonment and with total love and total authenticity. The other quote that came to mind was a wonderful quote by Mark Twain, who once said, "The two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why." Each one of us has a singular purpose in life. And the happiest people on this planet are those who are fortunate enough to have found their purpose in life and to be living it every day. It lights up every single day of their life, and they radiate happiness. And then I was listening to all the amazing stories by the preceding speakers, and I thought of a quote by Steve Jobs, who once said, "The most powerful people in the world are storytellers." So it's all about storytelling. Leadership is about storytelling. Now I want to sidetrack from this and share with you some reflections on a question that I've been asked recently by medical students and even esteemed professors of medicine at Harvard Medical School. Sanjiv, what do you think are the big stories in medicine and the biological sciences right now? So let me share with you 4 of them. The first one is artificial intelligence. I don't even like to call it artificial intelligence, maybe better term, aided intelligence, augmented intelligence. So we are now incorporating it in medicine. And one can do a colonoscopy, a gastroenterologist does a colonoscopy, and if you incorporate AI, when they look at a polyp, AI says, "Hey, this is a hyperplastic polyp, totally benign, leave it. You don't need to biopsy it, remove it, incur the $250 pathologist fee and the potential for complications. Or this is an adenomatous polyp, and it could be harboring cancer, you need to remove it." And the same thing will happen with upper endoscopy, with MRIs, CAT scans, mammograms. It's a phenomenal story. It's unfolding right now. The second big story is the microbiome. In our gut, we have 100 trillion bacteria. In aggregate, they weigh 3 pounds. It's been called the second human genome, the inner bacterial rainforest, a newly discovered organ. In aggregate, these 100 trillion bacteria weigh 3 pounds. And the way we enter this planet, whether we come by C-section or natural delivery, shapes the structure of the gut microbiome. So kids born by C-section have a slightly higher risk of developing autoimmune disorders, asthma, atopic dermatitis, Crohn's disease, lupus. And now we're actually doing studies where kids born by C-section, randomized, where half of them, they'll take a swab from the birth canal and smear it all over the newborn inside the mouth. And preliminary studies show that a year later, their gut microbiome is similar to the microbiome of kids born by vaginal delivery. We'll see what happens 5 years, 10 years out. The implications in arthritis, obesity, diabetes, response to chemotherapy, side effects of chemotherapy. An amazing study recently in Science. Patients with malignant melanoma, deadly skin cancer, who did not respond to immunotherapy were given the stool of a patient who had responded. And 5 out of these 16 non-responders now became responders. Pretty amazing. And there's so much more I can talk about it. I give a talk called Microbiome Man in Medicine, 50-minute talk, and I have to, update my talk literally every week, every 2 weeks. So artificial intelligence, microbiome. The third is CRISPR and gene editing. This is a remarkable story. CRISPR stands for clustered, regularly interspersed, short, palindromic repeats. So you can take a specific part of the DNA and you can modify it. And this is being done. And if you want to really read about this, there's a fascinating new book by Walter Isaacson, who's a professor of history. And he's written this amazing book. It's called Code Breaker: Jennifer Doudna, Gene Editing, and the Future of the Human Race. So Jennifer Doudna, when growing up, was about 10, 12 years of age. She comes back from school. Father dotes on her. She's the eldest of three sisters, three daughters. And on her bed, there's a small book, The Double Helix by James Watson. James Watson was 24 when, together with Crick and Wilkinson, they published a paper in Science. And some years later, they were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. He was 24. So she's fascinated by this book, goes the next day to school, goes to the chemistry teacher and says, I want to learn chemistry. And this is America. And this chemistry teacher puts his hand on her shoulder and says, young lady, chemistry is for boys, not for girls. Do you know what happened last year? She got the Nobel Prize in chemistry. Absolutely brilliant. It has implications in treating sickle cell anemia, cancer, and many, many other disorders. That book is worth reading. Walter Isaacson masterfully has written that book. And then the fourth story, believe it or not, is the psychedelic revolution. So in the 60s and 70s, Timothy Leary, Richard Alpert were thrown out of Harvard because they were using LSD on themselves and giving it to students. And now there's been a resurgence. Massachusetts General Hospital, one of the best hospitals in the world, Harvard Medical School affiliated, has opened an entire psychedelic institute to study the neurobiology. What happens if you take ketamine, take mushrooms? And what happens in the brain? Can we study it? Functional MRI. Can we study oxytocin, endorphins, different hormones? Harvard Law School has opened a center to study psychedelics and the law. Academic institutions in New York are opening up centers. So it's a remarkable advance and a way of thinking that is finally being embraced by medicine and by science. Think of refractory depression. Horrible. Between 20 and 35 years of age, maybe the number one cause of death in the world is death by suicide. And we give terrible drugs with lots of side effects. In refractory cases, we do invasive stuff like electroconvulsive therapy, shock therapy, transcranial magnetic stimulation, also invasive. It turns out ketamine, given intravenously, 2 or 3 treatments monitored by a nurse and a doctor, can change things completely. Neuroplasticity, neuronal connections grow. People in doldrums suddenly see life the way it should be looked upon. Know the story of a young man who was on the verge of hurting himself. 3 or 4 ketamine treatments, he's markedly improved. And he tells his fiancée, I've hired this skating rink between 4 and 6 tomorrow morning, and you're going to come with me, bring the video camera and video me. So she videos him. They send it to a bunch of scouts. Next thing, he's playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Professional hockey player, life totally altered. And now there are advances. One doesn't even need to take intravenous. There's studies going to be done looking at ketamine taken as a lozenge. Put it under your tongue, and 10 minutes later, go on a trip. It brings a lot of clarity, happy memories. It's being studied in people with anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, people in hospice, finding hope and solace about their life. But I have an analogy. It's like going in the elevator from the ground floor to the 100th floor. And you may get on the 20th, and I may have started on the 8th. We'll all ascend. So even happy people can become happier and more creative with some of these amazing drugs like ketamine. So those are the 4 big stories that I've talked about: artificial intelligence, microbiome, CRISPR and gene editing, and the psychedelic revolution. I think we're most happy when we're learning. when we're growing. I leave you with a quote by Mahatma Gandhi, who once said, "Live as though you were going to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were going to live forever." Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Sanjiv. Yes, and that is the saying as well, is if you are not growing, you are dying. And the inspiration that we've had throughout this whole theme of speakers tonight, or tonight in the UK, it might be afternoon or morning where you are, is just been absolutely fantastic. And the private messages that I've had, thank you so much. And it just literally just makes my heart sing. It comes to the end of these hit talks and I just want it to continue and to continue. But the speakers are actually going to stay backstage and we'll have a chat. But everybody here watching the live and watching the replay, please send us some messages. And also please actually, send us an email. The email address will come up on screen now. If you want to be able to be a speaker on Hit Talks and actually share your story of hope, inspiration and transformation, because this is the thing, the way that we're able to grow, the way that we're able to really help each other throughout the world is by getting the messages out there, like getting your messages out there. So please reach out if you'd like to be a speaker, because we would love to have you. And I know that the current speakers come back time after time after time. But before we go on to the next episode, I just have an announcement that I'd like to be able to make. Hit Talks has been broadcasting since 02/02/2020. 02/02/2020 equals 8. And that was the download. Now, I want you to understand, if you're new to Hit Talks, that Hit Talks was, yes, I was the actual being, the person that actually created this amazing platform around the power of 8, but it was not my idea. This idea was given to me by the divine after me asking messages after messages. What am I here to do? Why do I know people all over the world? And, so many kind of questions. And the whole concept of Hit Talks was downloaded. Absolutely everything, even the future, even the message to tell me to get my ego out of the way because it's not about me. And literally, step by step, and I'm still getting little opportunities that are coming in and big opportunities that are coming in for Hit Talks, so we can actually serve the world with these short messages of hope, inspiration and transformation. And so it's been absolutely fantastic, and we've been running since then. And then I had the vision of actually ramping it up even more. And there's some things going on behind the scenes which I can't share with you just yet. But what I can share with you is I decided to actually bring a partner on board to Hit Talks, which I'll bring on screen in a moment. And the reason that I decided to bring this gentleman on board as a partner of Hit Talks is that we have actually been together for about we've known each other for about 5 years, I would say. He'll have to correct me on this. When we shared the same coach at a time, and we traveled the world speaking, and we were accountability partners for each other, and just kind of grew and grew and grew. He's an absolute massive advocate of Hit Talks. He's always bringing people in. He's always there behind the scenes. And he's the one that kicks my ass sometimes when I say, I'm not doing Hit Talks anymore. That's it. I'm not doing it anymore. It's just or anything else like that. He's the one that kicks my ass. So I'd like to bring Philip Sykes from the British School of Etiquette at the moment, Excellence, onto screen. And Philip, just to say that I'm absolutely so stoked that you've actually, I'm just moving the team here. Yeah, so Jane, if you can bring Phil on screen, just because it's just going to take forward. And so, Philip, I think it's an echo on your side, my friend. Technology here.
Can you hear?
So you need to, you need to close all of your other websites, browsers, tabs, or anything except StreamYard.
Everything's shut, unfortunately. It must be the system. And we did do a test beforehand, I know. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great. It's a huge honor and I've always sort of looked at Vicky as a sister from another mother. We are incredibly attuned and aligned in so many of the things we have visions on and focus on. And for us as a couple to now take this opportunity that Vicky has so invested in and created, along with all these incredible speakers from around the world. And I sat in this evening, as I always do, in awe of every single one of you speakers tonight. And it just gets better and better and better. And I know that we have a huge opportunity, and I've got goosebumps just all over my body right now. And I just know that this is a massive, massive download from above. And I know that we have the opportunity to take this platform to so many levels globally and to help so many people. And as Vicky said, it's not about me, it's not about Vicky, it's not about any of the speakers that have the privilege and opportunity to engage on this platform. It's about what can we do for you? How can we inspire you? How can we help you? How can we change your life through just one golden nugget, boom, that you hear from somebody? One little bit of inspiration, and all of a sudden you launch. This is what this is about. And we've got some amazing, amazing things lined up in the months to come. We really know that this organization, this platform is going to explode. And we can do this not just on our own, but by bringing you all and getting you all involved and helping us spread this unbelievable message and word of what Hit Talks is all about. So I thank you, Vicky, from the bottom of my heart for just bringing me into this fold. And I know I do kick your ass every now and then, but you do mine as well. You give me a good revving every now and then and say, come on, pull yourself together. We all need this in this world. There's no straight road. There's no straight road. We all need to be kept on track. And I just love hearing the final sort of episode there. Live as if today was your last day and keep learning as if you had the rest of the life ahead of you. And there's something that is very, very profound. It pretty much complements what was just being said. Show me an amazing, successful individual in this world and I'll show you their library. This is what this is about. And it is, be tuned in. Get off your wretched social media, as in wasting your time, and focus on how you can grow yourself through getting on platforms such as Hit Talks.
You said it absolutely perfectly. Thank you so much. And that's the thing. It's a partnership, and it's actually the main aim of this is honestly to get your messages out there. Because I shared with some of the speakers, I had a telephone call once about a gentleman that was going to a supermarket. It's in a different country, and I'm not going to go too much in depth, but in a supermarket, and he was going to purchase something because he didn't think that his life was worth living anymore. So it was very much that I was just like, oh my gosh. And he said, I was listening to Hit Talks on YouTube as I was going through, and a story touched him. And when he went to the supermarket, he came back with something other than what he was first going for. Now, for me, and I'm sure for everybody watching, just one story, that's one life that somebody has reached out to me. And that is our mission. That is our purpose with Hit Talks, is to get the messages out there of hope, inspiration, and transformation. And as I say, there will be an announcement. We're not too sure exactly when about what's going next, because as I say, we're not here for the short term. We literally are very, very focused, very driven with grace, flow, and ease to make this platform one of the best platforms in the world. And I hope that you're with us. So thank you so much for being with us, Phil. I'm absolutely, totally blessed. And the next episode, everybody, is on the 12th of August. Again, every 13 days. The 12th of August, please come and join us. We are going to have an absolutely amazing lineup again of speakers sharing the hope, inspiration, and transformation with you. And until then, I am sending you so much love from myself and from Philip. And we will see you at the next episode on the 12th of August. Have an absolute fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening. Bye.